In this video, we are diving into something truly powerful: how to leverage the SQL interface within the Polar library. We all are familiar with the SQL and love how it simplifies data manipulation. This tutorial is tailor-made for the SQL lovers. We will walk through how Polars allows us to harness the power of SQL queries directly in Python. But the first question is why we should care about the SQL interface in Polar. Well, SQL is a universal language for querying and managing data. It's widely used because it's intuitive and powerful. Polars allows us to write SQL-like queries directly on our data frame, making it easier for those who are already familiar with SQL syntax to transition into using Polars. So if you're familiar with SQL, then you know how you can use it in a simple way using Polars. This means that we can also do a complex data manipulations without learning a very complicated syntax. We'll first start with SQL clauses, but before that, let me show you how we can import library. So this is how we have import the Polars library. We have got the Polars version also. We are using the insurance dataset. This dataset is from Kaggle. In the description of this video, I will provide the link of this dataset. These are the columns. I've used this column method, and this is a Polar data frame, insurance DF. Now let's start with the SQL clauses. Simply put, clauses are the building blocks of SQL queries. They allow you to define what data you want to retrieve, how to filter it, and how to structure your results. Let's break down some of the most important SQL clauses which we need to know. So the first one is the selector statement. Selector statement is the most basic thing for when it comes to SQL. So what we can do here is we can use the data frame, which is insurance underscore df dot SQL method, and the SQL query should be inside this quotes. So we can say select gender age from self. From self means from this particular data frame. So now what it will do, it will select the gender and age from the data frame. So we can see here, this is how it's get filtered. Next is the distinct. So basically, distinct gives us what are the unique values in a particular column. So here we want to get the unique value from the gender column. So we have used select distinct gender from self. Okay, so we are getting the distinct value of the gender. So here the values are male and female. Similar way, if you want to get the count of the distinct values, we can use the count. So let's say I've used select count distinct gender from the self. So which means that what is the count of what is the total number of distinct values in gender? So we have already seen it's male and female, but how it counts to two. So it's going to give us two. Then we have the where clause, where which we, with the help of the where, we can add additional statements, additional condition. I can say. So here, what I'm doing here is in this query, everything remains the same. Only the query structure is being changed. So I want gender, age, and annual premium from the data frame, from the insurance data frame, and where the data frame should contains the annual premium which should be greater than 500. So it's going to give us the data frame which has gender, age, and annual premium is greater than 500. We can also perform group by operations. Group by operations we have already seen when we were talking about data frames. So insurance df.sql, here I'm getting the sum of the annual premium and group by gender. So if we want to find it out, what is the total annual premium sent by paid by only male, paid by only female, so then we can use these kind of things. Please always remember that group by statements are mostly used along with the aggregate functions like sum, um, standard deviation, variance, all kind of mathematical operations. So we can see here it's being grouped by gender, but we are calculating the sum of the annual premium. Next is having. So having is also a way of getting additional condition. So we can see here in this case that we want having vintage is greater than equal to 76. So which means that we have selecting the vehicle age, the sum of the vintage. Okay, but where the vintage should be greater than equal to 76. So we are only going to show that part. So we can see here it's going to show only that part. Then is the order by. Order by is basically how we want to order. okay, our columns. So by default it's in the ascending order. So what I have done here is I have used I want to display the vehicle damage and annual premium, so I have put select vehicle damage and annual premium from the data frame. You can also, instead of using self, you can just write down the cell insurance underscore tf. That will also work. Order by annual premium, I have mentioned here descending. So what will happen, it's going to display the annual premium in the descending order. Sorry. Next is the limit. So with the help of the limit statement, if you want, we can limit the number of rows in the resulting data frame. So here what I'm doing, I want to display only 10 rows. So I have put limit is equal to limit is 10. So you can see here only 10 values are being provided. Then is the offset. So here what I am done here is like select the star from self limit 10, which means only 10 rows will be selected. Offset 3. So basically offset 3 clause skips the first 3 rows of the data frame before starting to return the data. So offset keyword is basically used to specify the number of rows to skip. So you can see here it has a 3, so 0, 1, 2. So the first index 0, 1, 2 is being skipped. First 3 rows are being skipped, and then the 10 rows are being displayed. Next comes the SQL functions. So SQL functions, the first thing is we will talk about the aggregate functions. So we can get the average from like if you want to get the average of the annual premium, so we can just say select average annual premium, and then we have specified it as a new column premium average, and we can see the what is the average of them. Similar way we can get the count. Okay, so here I'm getting the count of the vehicle age, here I'm getting the count of the distinct vehicle age, and then we can see all the get the values. Then we have the first. So basically if we say select insurance dot, it is going to give us the first value of that particular column. So I have used first gender, so the first value of that particular gender column is male here. Okay, so that's how we can use the first. Then in the last is going to give us the last value of that particular uh, column, a specified column in the data frame. Then we can also get the maximum value using the max function, maximum policy sales channel. So it's going to give us the maximum value which is present in that particular column. Here in this case is policy sales channel. Then we have the minimum. So if you want to get the minimum value, we can use this minimum function, and we can provide the column name. So it's going to give us the minimum value of that particular specified column. In this case, it's a policy sales channel. Similar way, we can calculate the median. We have to just specify the medium, and inside that, the name of the particular column for which we want to get the median. Standard deviation will also work in a similar way. We just need to specify the standard deviation and the column name. Then sum, and then we specify the column name to get this. It is going to add all the values present in that particular column. We can also calculate the variance in that way. Just we need to specify the column name. So this is how we can use aggregate function. Please remember, aggregate functions are mostly used. It's a quick way of getting the getting this descriptive statistics, we can say, or a quick know about the distribution of the data, how the data is being used, how to perform certain standard mathematical functions, and also mostly the aggregate functions are being used along with the group by statement. So as we have seen in the previous some of the previous examples where group by statements were used alongside uh, with the aggregate functions. Now next is the conditional state functions. So conditional state functions can also be it provides a separate conditions for performing. So let's see this example. So I have created a data frame. So what I'm doing here, I'm selecting the columns, okay, and the first function is the collation function, and I have specified all the 3 columns. Okay, I have made it as a name as a bars. Okay, now what I'm doing here is what this collage function does here is that it returns the first non-null value in the list of columns provided. So if you see here, we have specified column 1, column 2, column 3, and this is the resulting column. Okay, so here it is going to display the first non-null values. So here null, 1 null. So this is the non-null value. Okay, so it is going to be provided. 2 null null. So it's going to give us the 2 value. Okay, then null 3 null. Okay, 3 3. 4 null null 4. So this is how it's going to give us the first value, first non-null value, which it encounters while iterating through the entire row. Next is the greatest value. So it's going to give us the greatest value of, let's say, if I have specified this like select greatest uh, annual premium and policy sales channel. So it's going to going to go through all the row values of annual premium and policy sales channel and find out which is the greatest value, and that value will be displayed. So it returns the greatest value in the list of expressions. Similar way, if we can also provide a use an if clause here with the help of the SQL statements. So select if my condition is like if I want to get my condition is annual premium less than this much. Okay, so if my annual premium is less than this much, so this value will be displayed. But if my annual premium is not this one, then this value will be this. So you can consider this as a condition, and this is the value which when the condition is satisfied, and this is the else part. Okay, so if this is how, so when it goes through all the rows, okay, and find it out whether if it is being displayed, this is greater than this one, so it's going to display this value, otherwise it's going to display this value. Okay, then if null. So if null is also it checks that if the expression is null, then it returns an alternate value. So it will go through the annual premium, and wherever it will find that that annual premium value is non-null, it is going to replace it with this particular value, or you can specify any other value. So it's basically a way of returning an alternative value or handling a missing values in the data set. Now, least value. So similar way, we have seen the greatest, but similar way, the least value also works. It go through the specified rows of this row values of these columns, compare them, and which is the minimum value that is being displayed here. Next is the null if. So null if is basically it returns null if two expressions are equal. Otherwise, it returns the first value. So here, what will happen? It will compare the value of annual premium and policy sales statement. If any values, both of them values will be equal, so it's going to give us a null value. But if it is not, then it is going to display the annual premium. That's how it works. Then we are going to look into some maths function. So maths function we can also apply. Like here I'm used the absolute value. So absolute value is basically it gives you the actual integer value. Integer value. If it's in a negative, so it is going to ignore the negative part, and it's only going to display the absolute value. We can also calculate the cube root. So we can use the cube root. We can get the cube root of that particular column. We can also do the division operation. So I have used division policy cell statement divided by 2. So which what it's doing here is it's dividing the policy sales channel value 2, and this is the value. So and then we can also do it by division, another division operation by dividing it by 5. We can also calculate the log. We just need to specify the log function inside this, and it's going to give us the log values of the policy sales channel. Then we have the type functions. So type functions is basically here, if we want to, this is a cast function. So what I'm doing to do here is if I want to convert a particular columns data type into another format, okay, so then that case this cast function is very much important. So if we see here, we have used select vintage, vintage and response column. Okay, we want to convert, we want our data type of this vintage is going to be float, and for response we want it as a string. So in that case, what we are going to do, we are going to use this SQL statement vintage colon colon float 4 response colon colon float 4. So what it will do, it is going to change the data type of vintage to float and response to string. So you can see here vintage is now in the float 32 and the response is in the form of str. Next is we can also use the try cast. Okay, and we can convert them, like here I want to convert the annual premium as a unsigned integer to previously stored as a string. And what happens here is like the difference here is that in the case of try cast, it will convert a value to a different data type. Okay, but it is going to be returning null if the conversion false. Okay, that is the difference between the cast and the tri-cast. So tri-cast is also a way of uh, of uh, finding out like which of the conversion has failed by looking at the null values. Next is the temporal functions. So temporal functions are basically is the date time functions. So I have created a data frame. You can see here, this is the values which I have created. Now, if I want to find it out, if I want to get the year, so I can just specify it like date part, okay, and this is this data, okay, as a month, okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm converting the data into a kind of an SQL. Here it's a data frame, and I've just used this particular DF. Now I can extract also. This is a date part function. So date part function is like basically you want to convert it into a find of a, if I want to get the year, okay, so I will get the year here. You can see here from the data. Then if I want to have the month, so I will get the month. Okay, if I want to get the day, I will get the day here. So this way we can further break it into it. We can also do it for by using decade from sales data time as decade, year from sales data as year, quarter as sales data time as a quarter. So you can see here, this is how we can get the different, which means that basically we are breaking the data. If a date is given, we can break the data and further more insights can be derived at a more smaller time attributes or at a much more granular level. Then we have this strip time method. So strip time method is basically we are doing this select DT, and this is the SDT. So what we are doing here is we are converting the data into this particular format: percentage B, percentage D, percentage year. So which is basically the day and year, and the this is the month. Then similar way we can convert it into a kind of a time. Okay, so time is like in the hour, minute, and seconds. So this is how we can further break the data into a different format. The other thing is here is the set operations also it supports. So with the help of the SQL interface, we can perform set operations. So this is the two data frame I have. So I can perform the except operation here by using this select star from the data frame 1, except select star from data 2. So what it's going to do here is it's going to combine the result sets of the two selector statements, and it is going to return only the rows which are that presents that which is being present in the first result set but not in the second. So what is the common here? India and Australia is common here, but it is going to display only the values from the data frame 1. So you can see here, it's only going to display the values from the data frame 1. So you can see here, it's going to give the data frame, uh, yeah, in the data frame 1. So you can see here, let me run this code. Yeah, so you can see here, India, Pakistan, India and Australia, India and Australia is common. And yeah, one second. Yeah, okay, sorry, my mistake. Okay, so what it is going to do here in except method is basically when we are running these two data frames. Okay, so it is going to get the what is the common columns: India, Pakistan, India and Pakistan, India and Australia. India and Australia are the common columns here. So it is going to ignore India and Australia from the first data frame, and it's going to only display the other columns like Pakistan and England. So that's what it is doing here. So it's basically except the combine the result sets of the two selector statement, um, and returns only those rows that appear in the first data result set but not in the second. So this England and Pakistan is being not present in this particular data frame, so that is not going to be displayed. That's what it's going to be here. Then we have the intersect. So intersect, what it is going to do, it's going to combine the result set of the two selector statements and return only the rows that appear in both the result sets. So what is appearing here is in both data set is India and Australia. So India and Australia will be displayed here. Okay, so Australia and India you can see is being displayed, and it's being displayed only from this particular data frame. Okay, now the next thing is the union. So union basically combines the distinct result sets of two or more selector statements. Okay, so there is not going to be any any duplicate rows. So you can see here when I use the union, it's going to combine both the data sets and it's going to display the values, but they should not have contained the duplicate values. Okay. But in the case of union all, it will combine two or more selector statements, uh, but it can have some duplicate values. You can see here it is having the duplicate values. It's just going to combine all the values together. Okay, it will not check for any duplicate rows. Next is union by name. So union by name is combine the results of two or more selector statements, aligning columns by name instead by ordinal position. And if all is emitted, the final result will have no duplicate rows. So you can see here it's by countries and it's being displayed in this way. So this was all about the Polar's SQL interface methods. Please let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, and let me know for more videos which you want to see. Um, and thanks a lot for watching the video. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.